I'm here today with the Minister of State for the Parliament in Albania, Elisa Spiropali. Welcome to ALB UK Television, and thank you for being interviewed.
Thank you very much, it's a pleasure.
Can I ask you first of all, what interested you in becoming a politician in the first place? And what are your goals and values that you're trying to bring to your country?
I always felt it as my vocation, to tell you the truth, and I was truly passionate about it. I left this country in 1999 to go and study at an international school in Canada, in Vancouver Island, which was really far from here. And I was only 16. The college was very international, so it was my first contact with people from all over the world. We were around 83 of us from 200 different countries. And it was a very political school. So I was very involved in current affairs and in political developments around the world. So I got excited about politics all over, and I thought that they were not different. It was everywhere. It was the same, pretty much. But the ideas, the passion behind it, the fact that with politics you can do together with other people what you can't do alone, and to change the conditions, and reading about civil rights and movements, and especially for me, I'm a politician, the left. So for me, the movements across the world of emancipation and civil rights and the rest have motivated me throughout all my life, and I saw the opportunity of going into politics as a way, as a means to change the society according to my ideas. Yeah. My ideas are progressive. So.
Being a feminist myself, I support you totally in that. Do you feel that female politicians bring something different from male politicians to the Parliament?
First of all, I'm very happy that in our government we have 8 women ministers. I think it's an example that Albania is giving, at least in terms of representation, which is also very important. So we're 8 to 7 in our government, and that's very important. People get to see a model, get to see women politicians up there that made it, and women MPs, and but the numbers and the substance or the sacrifice that these women put into being in the public space is, I believe, is huge. And that requires a lot of will, it requires a lot of determinants, a lot of time away from the family, which is another thing. You know, women are generally taught that they should take more care about their home and their families and their children, and there is a sense of guilt when you are involved so much in the public sphere. But I believe that that children look at the models of their parents, and especially young girls should have models they should follow, and they should know that independently of the gender, you can achieve your goals and you can fulfill your dreams, and that's very important to me. I have a young daughter.
Yes.
Well, actually a little daughter. She's 4 years old. She turns 4 on Monday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this Monday, and she's the world to me. But I want to give her an example of a woman that doesn't give up, and of a person that takes on responsibilities and a fulfillment of the potential as a human being, which is very important. Because the gender differences are one thing, but the concept or the idea that we're all human beings that need to fulfill our vocation and our passions and ourselves in the end, that's very important to pass on to children. And I think this should be the message.
What values do you hope, and what world would you like her to grow up in Albania? What is the future for your daughter?
Well, we were having a conversation earlier, the two of us, while we were waiting for this interview, and we spoke very frankly about Albania. Albania is an amazing place. I lived, for 7 years I lived away from the country. I came back in 2006 and I never regretted it. Because Albania has so much to offer. It's a country that has developed tremendously in the past 29, 30 years, independently of the problems that it has had in its way of development and democratization. But still, impressive transformations in the country. Lots of things have changed. It's a modern place. It's a place where you can imagine to invest, you can imagine to live, you can imagine to grow up a family. It has sun for 300 days a year, which is very important, I think,
Absolutely.
to most people. It has beautiful nature that needs to be preserved and developed, and I wouldn't imagine my life anywhere else. And I want this country to progress, to fulfill its potential, to be part not only of the European Union, but be part of these European values and return back home, as we call it. Our quest to be part of Europe as a whole. We're Europe. Geographically, historically, we have strong ties. We have our history deeply rooted here, and we also want politically and economically and socially to be fully integrated in Europe. That is my dream and that is my goal, and that's what I strive for.
I look at what I call the DNA of Albanian women. The values.
You've noticed that.
How would you describe Albanian women to me, Albanian mothers to me?
Extreme sense of sacrifice and commitment, first of all to family, but also to others. I believe you have heard the amazing stories during the Second World War, where the Jewish community was so protected here, not only by the authorities, but by the people, by the commoner, but people in their families, but by mothers. That the number of the Jews in the country after the war was higher than previously. So it shows, or it's there as an example to tell you that Albanians are extremely, and especially women, is really welcoming in their homes and open. The Kosovo crisis also shows the same thing, but they're also very energetic. They're part of public space. If you see the results of young women in universities, for example, or young women in the jobs, they tend to perform better than the boys or the men. And that is to show that they have incredible will and determination independently of the difficulties that they have in their lives. I remember my grandmother, but I can list you the grandmothers and the mothers in the country that have gone through extreme sacrifices to raise the children during an extremely harsh dictatorship, like the communist dictatorship, with shortages. And they would do sacrifices that you don't commonly see, I think. And I'm very proud of the Albanian women. They tend to excel in things that they do, and they tend to never give up. I think hardship in their life has shown them that you have to fight not only for your rights, but also for the rights of other people, independently if they're family or not.
Yeah.
And then sense of duty, I think it's very important.
Does your daughter, she's 4 years old, but does she understand how important mummy is? She sees mummy on television.
Oh, she doesn't care.
She doesn't care?
Not at all.
Really?
Not at all. And I don't want her to care. At this point, she's 4, she's enjoying her kindergarten.
Yes.
Sometimes she sees me on these TV shows and she just looks surprised because I'm right there, And once I came back from Parliament, it was one of these long sessions. It was almost 11 p.m. and she was still awake. She was waiting for me. And when I came in, she said, "I know what mommy does. She speaks," because she saw me speaking in Parliament. And children have have that way of perceiving things, that it's their way, and all the children are the same in that sense, independently of the position of their parents or the work they do. They love their parents unconditionally, and I think that's one of the most beautiful things of being a parent.
Absolutely. Are you a European? In other words, I know that at the moment Albania is trying to enter into the EU as we're exiting, and I'm not a person to leave the EU myself personally. I think it's a much better institution. But how do you feel yourself about joining an even larger family?
I'm a fierce European, to tell you the truth, and I believe that our roots are deep in Europe. I feel sorry sometimes when I hear misunderstandings about the Albanian culture, or the fact that we are multicultural and we have different religions, but we're perfectly, in harmony with each other. And that's something we have to cherish, there's something we have to hold, and it's something we have to show to the world. You don't, in this very troubled world, you don't very commonly see mixed families of different religions and different backgrounds, and Albanians have cultivated that, and I think there is a very strong European value. We have our historic links to Europe. We have fought the same wars. We have suffered from the same invasions even. We are part of Europe in terms of the Mediterranean culture and the way we perceive politics and economics and such. We've gone through the hardship of a communist dictatorship, which is a very European thing in the end. We're part of the East Bloc. Yeah, with our specifics, because we broke from the East and the West. In this sense, I think that we have to fulfill this European vocation that we have, not only by joining the official structures of the European Union, but moving forward with our democratization process, with our reforms, and with our societal transformations. It's not easy, but I think we have done quite a lot. Absolutely. And the transformations are visible and are obvious.
I totally agree with you. Sometimes the perceptions of Albanians in Albania is not so good. Does that dismay you at times, and how do you feel those types of reactions should be counteracted?
Well, reactions to Albanians, or you mean the perception abroad? Yeah, that's something that we do feel as a problem. Obviously, a lot of the European media doesn't have time to follow Albania on all of its steps, and sometimes it feels like some of them are stuck in 1997, and Albania had its true problems. Some of them are stuck with the image of Albania as being a drug country, or a safe haven for that. Well, the facts are completely different, and I think everybody that comes here that is a foreigner expects something else when they come. They tend to have fear, or they feel that it's not a safe place, or it's not developed. They imagine they will see these women, following the men, or stuff that is exotic in movies, but it's not true in reality. When they come here, they see that it's a completely different place. First of all, it's safe, it's hospitable, people are nice, are welcoming, and the economy is doing relatively well. There are investments in the country. There are skyscrapers. There is beautiful developments by the sea, and there are lots of tourist visitings, and in the past few years the tourism has really increased, showing that the people are starting to learn about Albania, are starting to know this country better, and I'm sure if they come here they will find a jewel.
I totally agree. I mean, I study modern day Albania as well. I look at the values, I look at the cultures. As you say, there's so much building going on and so forth as well. So can I just ask you finally, obviously we represent a large diaspora of Albanians outside the country. Do you have a message for them? Especially now there's a diaspora meeting just about to happen. What is the Albanian message, the government message to Albanians across the world?
Well, they are crucial to our development, and they have been huge contributors to the economy, but not only, also to the culture. People have left this country, obviously, for economic reasons in the beginning of the 90s, and then the reasons have evolved for a better life, and that's understandable. But what I think is specific about us is that they have never lost touch with the country. They have contributed to their families' economies, and they find every reason, I believe, to come back, not only in the summer, but whenever they can. And that contribution we want to cherish, and we want to keep, and we want to develop. And that is the reason why the Diaspora Summit is being held. It starts tomorrow, actually, when a lot of very, not only famous, but successful Albanians abroad that have made a profession abroad and made their lives there, want to contribute here in different forms. And we are calling for them, you know, for their help, for their ideas, for their way of thinking is very important, and their projects too, and their investments, why not? We're open to that, and we want to keep this relation going, and we want to strengthen it by improving the legislation, by giving the right of vote to Albanians living abroad, and to increase the people coming back. They should bring their experiences here.
Yep. Do you feel that Albania now is a country that outside financiers can invest in? And what type of investment are you looking for as a government?
Well, we don't specify it, but I think all particular areas of investments are important, and it's important for the diaspora to feel like their contribution is going to be safe. It's very important. That's why we went and did a very radical justice reform, which was crucial to increasing the trust, not only of investors, but also of our partners, international parties in the country, combating impunity, also problem with land property and the abuse and corruption that have been going on at the justice system with the distribution of property, and other important factors that do have an impact on investments. So in that sense, their investments are welcome. Tourism is one of the things that is definitely booming in the country, and Albania has lots of potential with that, but also production, manufacturing, and energy. The energy sector is very important here. We're the second countries in Europe with the highest natural resource of water, and that needs to be used properly. So yeah, we're welcoming them. The Albanian diaspora has been unjustly sometimes portrayed as a problem in Europe, especially in the 90s, and that image has stuck. Yeah. But I think countries like Italy and Greece and Germany, where most Albanians have migrated, now see the results of the Albanian migration. Most of them are entrepreneurs, people that work in professions that are valued in the country, and we're proud that in just 30 years Albanians have made so much progress in these countries, even if they don't live here.
Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I know you bring great energy to Parliament as well, and I know you're extremely busy, so we're very grateful for your time this afternoon.
It was a pleasure. I always find it very pleasing to speak about Albania and the core values and the issues that we face, and not deal every day with our domestic politics and our short-term fights, which should not have an effect on our national interest and what we should portray to the world as Albanians. So thank you.
Thank you.